You can't switch from conventional to synthetic motor oil or vice versa.
That's a myth, Dave. Modern synthetic base oils are fully compatible with conventional or petroleum-based oils. In fact, in most applications, it is safe to switch from conventional oil to synthetic oils to get better protection.
Myth or fact? It's bad for my engine to switch brands of motor oil.
Myth. Not all motor oils are the same, but simply switching brand of motor oil when you change your oil does not pose any particular threat to an engine. Make sure you follow the recommendations provided in your owner's manual for the correct viscosity and API classification. But if you're just topping off between oil changes, it's probably best to stick with the brand that's already in the engine.
Well, thanks, Tom.
That's some great info. We hope that now you have a better understanding of motor oil, the science and the technology in the bottle, and are better equipped to make the right motor oil choices for your vehicle. And as we said before, regular oil changes with a quality oil is the best way to keep your engine protected and running in top condition. You could take your car to an instant oil change shop, the dealership, or a local garage, but if you're like me, you do your own oil changes. It's quick, easy, and it saves money. It's also a great opportunity to spend some time under the hood where you can look for problems like leaks, worn belts, and hoses. Today, ASE Certified Master Mechanic Rick Harsley has stopped by to help me show you how to do an oil change the right way. Now you're probably saying, I know how to change my own oil, and you probably do know the basics. However, with something as important as protecting my engine, I want to be sure I'm doing it right. Rick, before we get started, is there anything that we need to think about in terms of safety?
Absolutely. The engine gets very hot, and I don't want anyone out there getting burned. So sure. My suggestion would be to let it cool down for 30 minutes before attempting to drain the oil.
That makes sense. Now, if you're doing an oil change on a cold engine,
I would start it up, let it run for 2 to 3 minutes. It gets the contaminants inside the engine flowing. That way when you drain the oil out, the contaminants come out also.
Excellent. I've always loosened the oil filler cap prior to starting an oil change to let some air in.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. It lets air in, lets the engine oil come out a lot faster, makes things go a lot quicker.
Excellent. Great advice.
Thanks.
If you're like me, you don't have a lift or a pit in your garage, so you'll probably be using ramps or jacks. Rick, what do we need to do to stay safe under the car?
The first thing is you want to make sure you got a nice level surface. If you're going to put the car up on jack stands, you want to make sure you either put it on the frame or the pinch weld. If it's a manual transmission, you want to put it in gear and pull the emergency brake.
Absolutely. It's also a good idea to chock the rear wheels like we've done here. Anytime you're under an engine, it's a good idea to wear protective glasses to prevent oil from splashing into your eyes. Once you're under the car, locate the drain plug on the bottom of the oil pan. It's normally towards the back of the engine. A quick word on the wrench that you use to remove the drain plug. Basically, use the right wrench for the job. It should be the exact size to fit the plug. Way too often, people settle for a wrench that's close enough, and then they end up rounding off the plug.
If you have a drain plug that's been rounded off, it's been put on too tight. If you have to use a hammer or a breaker bar, it's been put on way too tight.
Loosen the plug counterclockwise and drain the used oil. This can take a few minutes. Here's an oil change tip. You can use a funnel to drain the oil when you first pull the plug and begin the drain. That way, if you drop the plug, it'll get caught by the funnel and not end up at the bottom of a few quarts of dirty oil.
If your drain plug does end up in the oil, an easy way to get it out is a magnet.
Locate the filter. On some cars, this can be the tough part. Filters are not put in a standard position, and they can be on the front, the back, or the sides of an engine. Once you've located the filter, remove it from the engine. This can be tough if the filter's in a hard-to-reach spot or if it's been installed too tightly. They're not supposed to be tight. But if it is, once you get a good grip, slow and steady twisting can sometimes get it to spin. If hand turning doesn't work, use an oil filter wrench.
Remember, there still may be some oil left in the filter, so you may want to have a container in place to catch any drips.
Some newer vehicles, including several European brands, may have a filter element or a cartridge as opposed to the simpler spin-on type filter. With this type of filter system, you'll need to open the cap of a built-in filter housing and reservoir, lift out the filter element itself. Replace the filter element and reinstall the cap, paying careful attention to any seals or gaskets included with the new filter element.
When removing the old filter, make sure that the rubber O-ring doesn't stick to the side of the block. If it does and you screw on the new filter over the top, you will have a leak.
To Rick's point, it's also a good idea to wipe off the engine block before installing the new filter. This will allow you to be absolutely sure that the old gasket has been removed and the surface is clean. Refer to your owner's manual for the correct filter specifications or stop by your local auto parts store for the correct filter part replacement number. Now, when you're installing the new filter, remove all the packaging. Then dip the tip of your finger into the new oil and coat the gasket ring of the new filter. This will help to lubricate the gasket and reduce the chance of a leak. Do not use the old oil to lubricate the gasket ring. It can contain buildup, and that's going to wear away the gasket and cause a leak. You can also pour some new oil into the filter before installing it. This reduces the amount of time it takes for your car to regain proper oil pressure. Unless your car has been stored for a long time and not driven, this is not a necessary step. However, it won't do any harm, and this will maintain engine oil pressure when you first start up the engine after the oil change. The filter's packaging will usually say how tight the filter should be. Go until the gasket touches, then however far it says to continue. This is usually a half or 3/4 of a turn after the gasket touches, but read your filter and its packaging for your specific installation instructions. Make sure your filter is hand tight, otherwise it'll be difficult to remove during your next oil change. It's time to replace the drain plug on the oil pan. Don't forget to install the replacement gasket or washer, and it's a good time to wipe off the surface where the gasket and plug will be installed. This will remove any debris that could cause a gap in the seal between the plug and the engine. Start threading the plug on with your fingers. Go slow and be sure not to cross the threads. Use a wrench to complete the installation. Remember, it should be snug, but no need to be super tight.
It's time to add new engine oil.
But before you begin adding oil, get out your car's manual. Check to see the recommended viscosity grade and engine oil capacity. It's probably listed in the capacity section. This is an important step because you can't always count on the dipstick for an accurate measurement. It can be off, especially if the engine has just been run. In that case, oil may still be trapped in the top and the middle of the engine, and that can result in overfilling.
Looks like we're good to go.
Excellent. There you go. We're going to add Valvoline Premium Conventional 5W20 oil. This will provide good all-around protection.
We've been using Valvoline in our shop for 15 years. It's an excellent oil.
Here's a simple trick to avoid spills. Do what Rick's doing. Hold the bottle with a spout on top. That allows air to escape and the oil to pour out more smoothly without glugging. Check the oil level using the dipstick. If it's low, slowly add more oil. Replace the fill cap, check around to be sure that you have all the tools you started out with, and close the hood. Now we've opened up the garage door and we'll start the engine. Watch to be sure that the oil pressure light goes out. It's also a good idea to run the car for a few minutes and then look under the car for any leaks around the drain plug and the filter.
Dave, I know we checked the service manual, but I also like to check the dipstick.
Absolutely. To check the oil level, draw out the dipstick, wipe it off, and insert it into the crankcase. Slowly draw it out again. The oil level must not exceed the line marked max on the dipstick.
And it looks like we're good.
Excellent, good. And if it was low, we could always put the dipstick back in, add some more oil, and check it again.
Absolutely.
There you go. And the final and very important step to any do-it-yourself oil change is proper disposal of your old oil. I like to use a funnel to refill the oil bottles the new oil came in with the used oil. Then use a marker to write used on the front and the back of the bottle to be sure it isn't confused for the new oil. You can then take them to most auto parts stores and garages for proper recycling. It's the right thing to do for our environment. For a list of collection centers, check out earth911.org. So there you have it, an easy step-by-step guide to changing your own oil. It doesn't take long, saves a few bucks, and if you're a real car guy, it's actually fun and satisfying.
Absolutely.
So now that your engine has new oil, you're good for another 3,000 miles. But you might be asking yourself, hey, what else can I do to keep my car safe and running in top form? Well, we call this segment of the video the 10-minute tune-up. And while it's not a true tune-up like you'd get at the shop, it's a great guide to some easy checkups and changes that can deliver better gas mileage, better handling, and more safety out on the road, all in 10 minutes or less. So let's get started. First, the walk around. With the help of a friend, check all of the lights on the car. Start with the brake lights, then the tail lights, then the rear directional signals. Finally, check the front directional signals, the front parking lights, then the headlights and the high beams. Replace any burnout bulbs immediately. This is a safety must. And while you're at it, look for water in the headlamps. You know, it's funny, you usually find out you need new windshield wiper blades at the worst time possible in a heavy rainstorm. So now, before we got caught in a downpour, we're going to test the wiper blades and see if we need to replace them. Get in the car and turn the wipers on while a friend simulates that rainstorm with a garden hose. We're going to check all wipers at all the settings. All right. And you should get good, even water removal with no dead spots. If your wiper blades are unable to give you a clear field of vision, replace them immediately. Once again, this is an important safety item. Remember that wiper blades are designed to be disposable, and as a general rule, they should be replaced about every 12 months or so. Your tires are quite literally where the rubber meets the road. Incorrect tire pressure can cause excessive tire wear, reduce gas mileage, and impair road handling. We're going to check tire pressure and wear. First, pressure. Now, a lot of people wonder, should I inflate my tires based on what the tire says or what the car manufacturer specifies? The answer, vehicle manufacturer specifications. This is so important because in most cases, the pressure for the front tires is going to be a little higher than that of the rear tires. This information can be found in the vehicle's manual as well as on a sticker found in the driver's door. Inflate your tires to these specifications using a quality pressure gauge. Now, there are a lot of types. There are the dial types, the plunger style, and even digital gauges. Personally, for my money, a quality dial type is hard to beat. And be sure to check and inflate all 5 of your tires. That's right, you probably forgot the spare. But trust me, it's better to spend a few minutes now checking the spare than to find out that it's flat when you're on the side of a road with a flat tire. Now, tire wear. First, look at the tires and see if there's even wear. Excessive wear in the middle of the tires can be a sign of tire overinflation. Excessive wear on the outer edges here can mean underinflation. And uneven wear on the side of the tires can be a sign of alignment problems. Your tires should have even wear. Next, we need to gauge tread wear. The raised tread on a tire is what gives it performance and grip, particularly in snowy or wet conditions. Excessive tread loss is a very major safety concern. To gauge wear, we're going to use a tread gauge. You can pick one of these up at an auto parts store for like $5. The gauge should indicate at least 1/16 of an inch tread remaining. Any less, and it's time for a new tire. Now, if you don't have a gauge, there's still an easy way to test for minimum tread. Check this out. Take a penny, turn Abe on his head like so, and put the penny in between the treads of the tire. Now, if you can see a space showing between Lincoln's head and the tread, then you're under that 1/16 inch safety limit. If Abe's head is covered up, you're good to go. Last but certainly not least, to improve tire life, rotate on a regular basis. Rule of thumb, every other oil change. All right, almost done. Next is a fluid check. Pop the hood and check all of your fluid levels. Your brake fluid, your power steering fluid, your engine coolant, which is antifreeze, transmission fluids, and washer fluids. Now, most are going to have safe levels clearly marked on the fill port. And the last step in our 10-minute tune-up is perhaps the single most important thing you can do, other than an oil change, to keep your engine running smoothly. It's quick, it's easy, and it saves you gas and money. We're going to inspect and possibly change the air filter. The air filter is typically enclosed in a black plastic casing near the center top of the engine. This should be the largest non-metal part that you see. All right, most filter assemblies are held together by a couple of large metal clips on the side right here. If you need to, slide a flathead screwdriver in between the casing and the clip and pry the casing open. In this case, I don't have to, this just flips open. pull off the cover, and you're going to see the filter in here. The filter is usually brightly colored to help see dirt and contaminants. We're going to pull it out, and usually it's flat, it's elongated, usually about 1 foot long by about 6 inches wide by about 2 inches high. It's made of paper filament with rubber edges along the bottom right here to seal it against the casing. Hold up the filter and bend it so you can see in between the paper folds, and we're going to look for dust and debris. If it's dirty, close the cover for the filter compartment and take the filter to the auto parts store to get a replacement. Taking the filter will help you to match up the proper replacement filter. Now, sometimes this can get a little confusing with different engine sizes and even mid-year conversions in a vehicle line. Having your old filter will help you to find the right replacement. When you return, go ahead and install the new air filter. Seal it up, and you're done. All right, that's it. That's the 10-minute tune-up. Do one every time you change your oil, and your ride will give you thousands of miles of reliable service.
And that's it for this installment of Auto Tech 101. Your friends at Valvoline hope that a better understanding of motor oil and the vital role that it plays in your engine will help you to make the right oil choices.
Yeah, and we hope that knowing the right way to change your oil, as well as a few other quick and easy preventive maintenance steps, can help keep your vehicle safe and reliable on the road.
We'll see you out there.